In today's video, we're going to be going over some fragrances you should consider buying backup bottles of before they discontinue them. And now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that necessarily all of these or any of these are discontinued or are being discontinued. It's just with the implication that it could happen at some point based off of, pre-existing fragrance releases within these brands and lineups that have been discontinued. Could also be that some of these aren't really, hot sellers like maybe some other scents out there, and so you can just kind of, feel that impending doom feeling of at some point that's probably going to go away. That's kind of what we're talking about here. So it's more or less just something to think about. If there are any scents in here that you really like, you wear a lot, you get a lot of use out of, and you would be affected negatively if they discontinue them, then it might not be a bad idea to look into picking up an extra if and when they go on sale, or you just feel like maybe now will be a good time. So we're going to get things kicked off with Narciso Rodriguez Bleu Noir. This is the Eau de Toilette Extreme. So this one has citruses, basil, musk, ice, and mandarin orange, or I believe like a green mandarin accord in here. So the ice fragrance, right? There have been a few scents that use that kind of fictional note, and what it does is it gives you the impression of a kind of cooling, refreshing, bright scent, and that's what this is, really. And you can also get that impression just by the bottle. It's got that frosted glass, has the clear cap. Actually, it's my favorite bottle out of this lineup, pretty much. Really, really cool looking, and the scent itself is great too. Now, the original Eau de Toilette, Eau de Parfum, those are musky and woody, and that's basically it. Still fresh leaning, but they're more so just kind of year-round versatile type of scents, right? Not something I would consider to be for summer necessarily, whereas this Eau de Toilette Extreme version hands down is a summer scent. I really enjoy this one just because it does brighten up that overwhelmingly woody and kind of dry, musky DNA, which is, again, the first two. Now, the Parfum is a different story altogether because that one has some iris and it's a little bit sweeter, but it still is built on that woody, musky base. That kind of goes in a different direction. But this one here, it's really nice for just spring and summer wear. You want something bright and refreshing with a twist. You don't really smell this type of thing all that often. Now, why do I think that this one will be discontinued, or potentially is? It's been sold out a lot here recently. It's in stock right now, but it's kind of limited. Also, when you take a look all the way back at the original Narciso Rodriguez for him, and then also Narciso Rodriguez for him, and I believe it's an EDP. They have really cool looking bottles though. Those are both discontinued, and those are both amazing fragrances, right? So, when you kind of look at the rest of the lineup, if they are going to keep producing these at some point, they're probably going to get rid of some of the older, lesser performing ones in terms of sales volume to make room and to keep the line simple. That's why I think that maybe this one won't be around forever, but it is a really nice scent. This next one is Brioni Eau de Parfum Intense. It has oud, apple, orange, patchouli, and vanilla. I love this stuff. It's been sold out a lot lately. It's not necessarily a sure sign of discontinuation. It could very well just be supply chain issues. And to be fair, sometimes even Eclat and, I don't know, the regular Eau de Parfum and stuff can be sold out here and there. It's just part of the game. However, they are producing these at a pretty quick rate. We've been getting a new one, I don't know, almost every year since they first started with the original Eau de Parfum. I could be wrong, and maybe they skipped a year, but it seems like out of the gate, they had quite a bit of momentum. And so if they do keep that up, at some point they have to get rid of some of the older ones, right? Now, would they get rid of just the Intense version? Would they go for something like the newer Suave or Eclat, like I mentioned, or Essentiel? Who knows? I don't know for sure that they would discontinue the original EDP because that's kind of what started the line off. That's the OG scent. So, at some point they might have to start somewhere. And I'm not saying that it's going to be right now or next year or the year after. This could be years down the road, right? But doing this hobby long enough, you're able to see the trends and you're able to see kind of how things work. And, if this was a favorite scent of mine, at some point I would look into getting some backup bottles if it was something that I wore often. Again, not in dire need necessarily, but if you like this one, might be something to look out for. You know, it's typically going for a decent price on discounters, not too bad, but ultimately it's a very unique scent too. Pretty much the entire lineup brings something new and exciting to the designer market. So great fragrances across the board. Now this next one here is an exclusive edition from Armani. It is Stronger With You Amber. So the entire exclusive lineup is nearly impossible to get at this point for the most part. So this one is in stock right now. You can have the choice between testers for about $105 or full presentation, I believe, for like $130, $135, okay? But this is the only one of the line that you can purchase right now. Everything else, you know, leather, oud, impossible to find. Just actually a couple days ago, Stronger With You Sandalwood came into stock. I sent out a text and a community post, but that stuff went very, very quick, within probably 20 minutes. So that one, very limited amount of pieces there, but a lot of you guys are able to get a bottle, and that one's really good. But other than that, you just can't get these. This one has amber, vanilla, lavender, and it still does have that signature chestnut smell. You know, that Stronger With You smell that you would expect to get out of a Stronger With You flanker. Yep, it's still in here, which is good, right? You would expect that. So all it is taking that DNA and just adding in more amber. It's just the tiniest bit of an animalic amber too. Nothing crazy, nothing too strong, but it kind of goes in that direction just a little bit. You could also compare it a little bit to the type of amber being used in MFK Grand Soir. If any of you guys have smelled that, it's a beautiful amber scent. Pretty expensive, but a really, really good quality and unique smelling. I'm not saying this smells like that, but it's the type of amber in general that they're using. I kind of see a little bit of resemblance there. So it smells really nice. It pretty much every exclusive edition of Stronger With You is a little bit more mature, a little bit more refined. Tobacco, oud, leather, sandalwood, right? They're all just still maintaining that original DNA, but just adding a little bit more of a added complexity to it. And just, again, a little bit more of a mature smell to it, more of a polished smell, you could say. So if you have any interest in getting this one, I would do so while you have the option to, because at some point, your only option is going to be $200+ on eBay and other random kind of reseller sites, which is kind of risky. All right, now this next one here is Dior Fahrenheit Le Parfum. It's all about the violet leaf and rum and leather. So still get that original violet leaf, that nice freshness. The rum gives it a beautiful, sweet, heavy, boozy kind of bourbon accord. And then leather, okay? Nice leather suede combination just to kind of tie everything together and to lean it in more of that masculine direction, kind of tying into the violet leaf. Really, really good stuff. To me, it's worlds better than the original Fahrenheit. You know, it's just, it offers more. It performs better. I don't know, it's something that I would gravitate towards more. Now this one is very simple. Why do I think that this one is going to go away at some point? Because literally every other Fahrenheit flanker has. And that's not speculation, that's not just guessing, it's facts. You can look up every Fahrenheit flanker. They've all been discontinued. Name them off. Cologne, Aqua, Fahrenheit 32, Absolute, and I'm missing some, of course, but that's kind of the main ones that come to mind immediately. The only ones you can buy right now is the original, which is not a flanker, and this, okay? So it's going to happen at some point. I know it is. Hopefully not anytime soon. Hopefully not ever, but I feel as though it will at some point. And it's interesting because this line is vacant. When was the last time they released something? I think this was the last Fahrenheit flanker that they released, and that was a while ago. So maybe if they never put out another one, maybe they'll keep this around. Who knows? But if you do like this, definitely get another one, no questions asked, you know, because I know so many people, myself included, who wish that they would have purchased more bottles of Absolute and Fahrenheit 32 in particular. Those two were amazing. Cologne and Aqua were really good too, but man, the first two there, amazing scents, and so don't let that be you if this one were to go away. All right, next up from Hugo Boss, we have a Boss Bottled scent here, okay? This one is Boss Bottled Parfum. I know you guys were expecting me to say Absolute or Elixir, and honestly, I feel as though maybe those will be around to stay for a while. I could be wrong, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I really hope that they don't axe those too soon, right? It seems like they're good sellers, but in terms of real-world sales data, who knows? So hopefully they keep those around. I'm not too worried about that right now, okay? But something like this one, 2022 release, I should clarify there, you never hear about. I mean, really, when was the last time you heard about Boss Bottled Parfum? Especially now that we have Elixir and Absolute. stealing all of the spotlight. This one has cedar, leather, olebanum, fig tree, and iris. Really nice, unique smelling scent. Nice leather take, getting a little bit of a sweet iris in here, a very woody presence as well. And the addition of fig, which can be hit or miss for me, is done well here. It smells nice. It has the perfect level of supporting notes to where it's not at the forefront, which is something that I usually don't like. And so the fact that it's blended in, it makes it a lot more bearable. When fig is used like this, I like it, but again, I'm not the biggest fan of it when it's the center of attention. This is obviously a Parfum concentration as well, which is a nice bonus. It smells quite a bit different than the rest of the lineup. It doesn't really bear any resemblance to Boss Bottled EDT or Intense or really anything else. It kind of moves off in its own direction here a little bit, especially with that leather. Gives it a different twist and a little bit of iris too, like I mentioned. That's hard to beat. So this one, again, it's a little bit different and you just don't hear about it. They're going to keep putting these out. I mean, we just got Boss Bottled Beyond, right? And a little bit of an updated bottle as well. Are they going to move everything over to a bottle like that? You know, we've seen that happen before with other lines, you know, like Armani Code and stuff. Maybe. So, you know, if they're going to keep putting these out, that's kind of the idea. At some point, they're going to cut the non-performing ones in terms of sales, of course, and it could be this one. So if you like this, I would pick up an extra. If you haven't tried this, I would try it. It's actually really good. You might be surprised, and it's one that, again, nobody's talking about. You might stand out a little bit more. This next one is Rochas Man Intense. This is all about the cappuccino accord with some sandalwood and a little bit of like a tonka, but basically it's all about the cappuccino. I believe there's like a fir resin. Could be wrong there, but there's some sort of slightly aromatic note, but it's a creamy, smooth coffee scent. It smells wonderful. It's very similar to Rochas Man, the original, of course. This one is just the Intense version. It is actually better performing. This is also an eau de parfum, whereas I'm pretty sure that original is an eau de toilette, so that helps too. Now, why do I think that this one's going to go away? Well, because, you know, this literally happened before. There was a point where they had an Intense version of this released, just like this, Rochas Man Intense. I don't know if it had this color, but it was Rochas Man Intense years ago, and they discontinued it. You couldn't find it anywhere for the longest time, and then they released it again, right? So could history repeat itself? More likely than not, it seems like it does in this hobby, and so at some point this might go away again as well. We've also seen that with like Invictus Aqua, you know, where they kind of do these limited edition runs. They put it out, it gets hyped up, they discontinue it or just, you know, take it away for a bit and then re-release it again in a different format. Seems to be a sales tactic that works. Maybe they're trying to do that with this, or maybe it's just a demand thing that they kind of bring back and take away as they see fit. Either way, for 35 bucks, if it's something you like and you wear, you might as well stash away an extra one. Okay, we're running down to the end. We've got a cheapie up next. This stuff is great, and it doesn't smell like a $20 scent. It's actually really impressive. It's Pepe Jeans Cocktail. It's got yuzu, grapefruit, ginger, and violet leaf. Yeah, I think it's 20 bucks. On discounters, I believe is what it goes for. Very, very inexpensive. And again, doesn't smell like it. There are a lot of $20 scents that smell like $20 scents. You can really tell. Not the case with this. Bright, punchy citrus with a little bit of a spicy ginger kick off the opening as well. Really, really well done. Just amazing, amazing cheapie. And it's great for summer. That's when you want to use it. Summer and spring as well, it would work, but I would more so prefer it in the really high heat. Really nice stuff with a cool gradient. Do I think this one's going to be discontinued? It could be. They've kind of had a few flankers over the years that have become hard to find, and I don't know if this will be one that goes down that path as well or not. I guess it just depends on a number of things. All I know is for $20 or so, 20, maybe 25, if you like this, there's no reason not to pick up an extra, one or two even, because they could take it away at any point. And something like this that's not from a major designer brand that's really getting a ton of hype, this one could just up and vanish quickly. Sometimes with some of the other brands and the other more popular scents, they'll kind of circle back every now and then because there is so much of it in circulation that, you know, when discounters are doing their purchasing and they're importing, more pops up and they buy a few more lots as they could get them. So things kind of go in and out of stock a lot. We've seen that happen a lot. But with something like this, you know, not nearly as common, not nearly as popular, probably not produced in as high of quantities as some of these other scents, it might just sell out once and then never come back again. You just don't know. So if you like it, spend the extra 20 bucks and grab another one. And last up for this video, we have John Varvatos Vintage. Beautiful, beautiful scent with the suede, all of the woods, a little bit of a classic citrus note off the opening, tons of fir resin in here as well. It's woody, it's classic, it smells just like a premium aftershave is really what it smells like, just a premium, high quality smelling aftershave, or you know, something along those lines. Just has a clean, classic smell to it. Really, really good. John Varvatos Vintage. The name Vintage kind of fits. Now, it's not like old school smelling, but it's definitely not, you know, in line with modern day fragrance releases in terms of being overly sweet and everything like that. This has been around for a long time. This is kind of peak John Varvatos. You know, not necessarily this, because things that came after it, like Dark Rebel Rider, those were kind of peak John Varvatos, because not too long after those and a couple more artisan flankers, things kind of fell off. I think some brand acquisition or something changed with the brand, something, I don't remember, and things just went south. But this one here, really good. Do I think it's going to be discontinued tomorrow? Probably not. I think it probably has some time, but take a look at every other John Varvatos, the two that I just mentioned. A lot of the older artisans, Artisan Black, Artisan Aqua, and then there's some more I'm missing, Artisan, not Artisan Platinum, but John Varvatos Platinum, John Varvatos Oud. Again, so many gone, never to be seen again. That could happen with this because it's happened with so many others. I think this one probably does okay for them in terms of sales, but that could change, or they could just decide to get rid of it anyway for whatever reason. Another affordable one here, usually I think $30 to $40 on discounters most places, and these are 125 milliliter bottles as well, so a little bit extra bang for your buck. I would pick up an extra if you like. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some fragrances that if you like, you should consider maybe having an extra. Again, I'm not necessarily saying that all of these are going to just up and vanish tomorrow, but looking at past data, looking at just how things work in the fragrance community, you know, I would be kind of looking out for some of them if you like them and you wear them a lot. If you don't really wear them all that often, then don't buy a backup bottle. But if any of these are your signature scent, at some point I would kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I know I did that for years with Acqua di Gio Profumo and a few other scents, and they discontinued Profumo, and that was scary for a minute until they brought it back in the Parfum. But you never know what happens, right? Atlantique is another one that they haven't brought back that I have like 5 or 6, 7 bottles still in box. Okay, I just knew it was coming, and surely it did. So I'm glad I did that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.